Welcome to episode 4 of Planning Phase Syndicate. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. We have an amazing episode planned for y'all, and we are trying out some new technology, so please be patient. I bought a capture card, I got a new webcam, I've got all sorts of crazy stuff going on here in the background, so hopefully y'all will forgive me a little bit here for what we're doing. But tonight we have an amazing episode. We're going to do our Academy 101 with an engagement and phase. We're going to do a roll call with where we cover Morna Key and Admiral Holdo, hence the name of the title right there. And we're going to do a new segment called Rebel Hanger Cadets and System Malfunctions. So those two new segments are brand new tonight. We're going to also do a Construct the Death Star with John so that we can get our second Trench Run episode recorded for you live next Wednesday. With that being said, let's bring everybody in to the show. Welcome, Charles. Welcome, Matt. How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing good.
I'm recovering from my my overnight trip to Bespin and how much fun that was. But other than that, pretty solid. It's been a good weekend.
Well, that's awesome. Very exciting that you were able to do that this week. So what did you play? Because I know we did some stream games, but if you could quickly run down what you played, I think it would be beneficial to hear why you played specifically what you did.
Sure. So I ran Fat Guri, so advanced sensors, Virago title, hull upgrade because I didn't have enough points for shield upgrade, and outmaneuver. I ran Teltavura with Cutthroat and the Punishing One title and hull upgrade. And then I ran Nam Lum with Auto Blasters, Dengar Gunner, Zam Wessel Crew, and I think that was it. I think that's all I had on there. I ran it because in a night of inebriation, I thought it would be funny to try and see how many times I could trigger Teltavura's Resurrection in one game. Up until the tournament on Friday night, I had not yet gotten it to trigger more than once. And I was playing I think it was round 5, I was playing against Dual Fire Sprays, and he made it deep enough in my list that he killed Teltavura, had me regen her, then he killed Nam Lum, which causes the target or the token to regen. And then he killed her a second time, which allowed me to regen her a third time back onto the board. And then he killed her a third time. So he really earned those points for that particular game. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. A lot of good people. Had a lot of really good games. Overall, was a lot of fun. I'm glad I stayed up to the ridiculous hours in order to knock that out. It was a really good time.
What you're saying is whoever built that point pinata built it so tough that you just really had to keep swinging that stick at it, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like a zombie. If you don't go for the headshot, it keeps getting back up.
Right.
Well, that is awesome that you did that, and I am excited to kind of see what happens in the next tournament. I don't know when the next one is, but we can look it up later and let everybody know. So to begin tonight, we're going to do our Academy 101.
Yes, so tonight for our Academy 101 segment, we're going to be discussing the latter half of the most labor-intensive portion of the game. In our last episode, in episode 3, we talked about the activation phase in which you move ships. Today, we're going to be covering the engagement phase, which is the actual bread and butter of the game. It's the actual attacking where you're able to have fun and talk trash. And then we're going to go over really quickly the end phase of the game and what that brings to the table. So with the engagement phase, once you have completed your activation phase and all ships have moved, all actions have been taken, any end of activation phase triggers have happened, you roll into the engagement phase. With the engagement phase, this is shooting. There are some cards, like I just mentioned, I played Guri. At the start of the engagement phase, Guri has the ability to get a free focus token. So there are cards in the game, pilots and upgrades, that trigger abilities at the beginning of engagement. So that's the first thing you do. When you enter the engagement phase, you check the board state to see if there are any abilities that trigger at the start of engagement. For activation, we activated from lowest pilot order, being 0 or 1, to highest pilot order, being the I-6 pilots, commonly referred to as aces. For the engagement phase, we do the exact opposite. We start at those aces, the 6 and the 5, and we work our way down to that 1-0 range, and you're doing that. There are a couple of different steps involved in attacking your opponent. So the first ship up would be an I-6. If there are no I-6s, you roll to I-5s. If there are no I-5s, roll to I-4s, so on and so forth, until you get to the first trigger. Whoever has it, let's say that you have an I-5 pilot, you're going to declare a target. This is your intended target. After you declare your, for the attack, you're going to measure your arc. So that's up to range 3, out from the front of your ship or the side of your ship if you're running a turret arc, or if you're running one of the Wookiee fighters from the Rebel faction, or is it the HMPs have a 180 front?
They do.
Yes. Yeah, they do. Both of those do. Those HMPs, that 180 front, it's the same way as like that Wookiee ship. It looks that like half moon circle.
Yep. And then you also have the YV666 for the Scum faction that have that 180-degree front arc that really throws your arc out there. Once you've checked your arc and you've determined who you want to shoot at, you declare your target for your attack. Once you've declared your target, any ship abilities, any pilot abilities, any upgrade abilities that triggered during that step, so in this case, for instance, Nam Lam would rotate his arc to face the ship that just declared him as an attacker. Once all those triggers are done, you check for the range bubble that they're in for any potential range bonuses. So in this state, if you are attacking and you are at range 1 of your opponent, you would receive 1 additional attack die. If you are defending and you are at range 3 of your opponent, then you would receive an additional evade die. There are some ships like Fen Rao that add to the dice that you get at range 1. There are some ships like Dash Rendar, who is not able to utilize the range 1 bonus because he has like his pilot ability or something gives him like a range 1 bubble that he can't get a range bonus for. And you, there you go, sensor blind spot. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate that. I don't fly him a whole lot, and I really haven't seen a ton of him since 2.0 came out. He was big right at the beginning, but 1.0 he was massive. And you can also check for bullseye arc, which things like, is it Prockets require bullseye, right?
Yeah, Prockets, and then there's also several printed bullseye arcs, like Eta 2 Actus, Delta 7B.
The Nantech Swarm has a printed bullseye arc, that sort of thing. Once you have checked your arc and determined the spacing between the ship that's attacking and the ship that's defending, it's time to do what we all love to do, put our fate in the hands of the fickle dice gods and hope that there are no ghosts on the table, i.e. Matt's shirt. So you're going to roll red dice first. Obviously, you have to know how much damage you have to avoid. Once you roll the proper number of red dice, you apply the range bonuses, roll the actual dice, do all of that. The defending player has the ability to mod the dice first. So spending any abilities that they have to cancel hits or crits, to change focuses, the defending player modifies the dice first on the attack roll.
And this might be a little bit confusing. You will also use your things, like your locks, your focuses, your rerolls will happen before the defender rolls their dice. That's
actually not the... No. Okay, so I'm not talking about the defender rolling their dice. I apologize. I'm talking about the defender using abilities. So, for instance, there's a like it's Luminara allows you to cancel an opponent's hit down to a focus or a crit down to a hit. So your opponent modifies your dice first. Once they have completed messing with your perfect roll, you roll 4 crits and they get done messing with what they need to do. Then the attacking player gets to modify his own dice using target locks, focuses, that sort of thing, in order to realign the stars back into perfection. Once that dice roll has completed, all dice have been modified. We know exactly how many dice we have for damage. Then the defending player rolls their green dice. Now, when the defending player rolls their green dice, much like the attack dice, the opponent modifies the green dice first, taking away any evades with it's crack shot. That's the pain in the butt one, right?
Yeah, that's the one nobody uses anymore because it's like 3 points.
Yep. So, like, for instance, crack shot would allow you to shake and evade down, and so on and so forth. So you get to modify the defender's dice first. Once all the attacker's dice are the modification triggers are done, then the defending player can spend focuses, evade tokens, that sort of thing, in order to modify. Once the dice have been modified, we get to the neutralized dice step, which you then at that point are comparing the hit dice to the evade dice, or the green dice. So the red dice to the green dice. And each successful evade, or as we call them, a squiggle, will cancel out either a successful hit or a successful crit. Please keep in mind that you will always cancel hits before crits, except in the case of a single upgrade that allows you to cancel crits before hits. To be fair and honest, I don't have it. I don't even know if it exists in 2.0. It existed in 1.0. There was a card. Is it Plasma Torpedo? Okay. So you can do that. Once the neutralized dice step is completed, we see how many red dice are left. If any red dice are left, that amount of damage is then dealt to the target ship. You always resolve the hit dice before the crit dice, and you always resolve your shields before you take damage on your hull. So if someone were to roll 2 hits and a crit, and someone else were to roll 1 evade, then you would be taking 1 hit and 1 crit. You would take the hit first and lower a shield. If that is all of the shields you had, for instance, in last night's final at Bespin, we watched a bunch of Jedis just get blasted through those shields real quick. Then the crit results in a face-up damage card to your ship. If your shields have not been gone through, then each damage is just a shield. It's not a big deal. Once your shields are down, any damage cards that you receive for a hit are dealt face down, and for a crit are dealt face up for additional game effects, such as hull breach, damage sensor array, direct hits, which give you an extra damage, any number of things that no player wants to see. Once the deal damage step has ended and everybody damage has been dealt, then any ships that were destroyed during that initiative step are removed. Again, except in the case of if you have Warthog on the board, or is it Nash Windrider? That allows ships to mess with the initiative order and removing ships at the end of the game and that sort of thing.
Yes.
Once you've removed the ships from the board, the very final step of the engagement phase is the aftermath phase, or the aftermath step, which is any abilities that trigger after being shot, any abilities that trigger after shooting, after defending, whatever the terminology or nomenclature on the card is. Keep in mind that these abilities resolve in player order, so whoever has first player gets the choice of what resolves first. And something that I learned, you resolve abilities that do not require a shot to be fired before you resolve abilities that require a shot, according to the order of operations from the official tournament rules document, a la the great and powerful D-Yoon. So, for instance, on my Nam Lam, I have Zam Wessel, which could potentially allow me to take a bonus shot, but I also have Dengar, which, if his charge is active, allows me to strip a green token. I do not get a choice in how those trigger, because Dengar is not a shot, and Zam Wessel's ability is a shot. So you're going to trigger Dengar first before triggering Zam Wessel, in the case that you ever run a list that has them both on it. Once the aftermath is done, you continue down the line wash, rinse, and repeat until every ship has had the opportunity to engage. There is no requirement to roll dice. If you have a ship that has Fen Rao in its arc at range 1, and you know Fen Rao has Fearless on him, it might be better for you to just not shoot, because you got 4 dice with an evade, an auto evade from his ability, and you know he's going to be taking a 5 dice shot back. Maybe you want to save that focus. Or a ship that has Zam Wessel, you don't want to take that double tap, so you don't want to shoot at him. There's a number of reasons, but your ship will always engage. It is your choice whether or not you actually roll dice for the engagement. But you would still engage, so some of the damage cards that say after your ship engages, roll for a stress or roll for a damage or whatever the case it is, will trigger whether or not you choose to shoot. And that's pretty much it for the engagement phase. Like I said, you go top to bottom. Once you hit the bottom, then we go into the end phase. End phase is kind of a cleanup portion, as it is with just about any game out there. Every has some sort of an end phase. Any round tokens, focuses, evades, tractors, jams. I feel like I'm overlooking one, but I think that covers it. Reinforce, thank you. All of those round tokens will clear at the end of the round during the end phase. Any square tokens, target locks, ions, depletes, and strain and stress. I think that's it for that one. I don't think there's anything else that hangs around. But square tokens do not clear at the end of the round. The square tokens stay on the ship until they do whatever it is they need to do to get rid of that token. In most cases, it's going to be a blue maneuver to clear the tokens, or some sort of an upgrade card that allows you to drop a target lock. Once everything has been cleaned up, there are no more tokens that aren't supposed to be on the board still on the board. We wrap back around to the aforementioned planning phase, and then you start the turn all over again. That is basically a single round of X-Wing. I know it's confusing. I know that there's a lot of intricacies that we didn't cover. We are trying to keep this Academy 101 section, at least at front, to be the most basic, kind of watered-down version of the game that we can, just to make sure that you guys are able to get some real quick instructions in so that you can get your ships on the board and actually start playing. We do have a Discord. If you have questions on ways ship cards interact during what phase, or how certain things happen in whatever phase, please post them in our Discord, and we'll be more than happy to take them during a segment on the show and answer those questions for you. Just to make sure, they say there are no stupid questions. Take the opportunity to ask whatever is on your mind, because if you don't ask, somebody else doesn't know. So ask your questions and let us know. And guys, for that pretty much covers engagement and end phase. I'm going to throw it to the other two experts. Did I overlook anything in those 2 steps?
Ooh, I don't know, man. There's so much there that it's so hard to, yes, no, probably not. You know how it is. It's so as you guys will get used to it, the basics is what he's telling you. 6 down for engagement, and yes, there's going to be a million effects, and each game's going to be different. There's a card that cancels one thing, like he was saying, like there's this card that does this, and there's that one that has that rule, and this one has that rule, and I think you've done as well as any one of us could have done.
Yeah, unfortunately with X-Wing, for any time that a rule says always, there's always an asterisk underneath it that says except when it's not. So there's always cards that'll cancel and mess with the way things work. One of Chris's favorites, obviously, is Torkel Mux. Because he changes your pilot initiative to 0, you're the first ship to move. You move at your regular initiative because Torkel triggers at the start of engagement phase. Because he moves you to 0, it moves you from wherever you were in the shooting order down to the very last ship to take a shot. So unless there's another 0 on the board, and to the best of my knowledge, The only 0 pilot is Gargor. The M1A I think is a 0 pilot, or he's a 1, and then the is it the dark probe droid is an initiative 0?
Yes.
one.
Okay. Yeah,
Sword,
those
Sword missiles, but they don't
Yeah,
move.
missiles too, Discord.
Oh, the buzz droids and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yep. So those are the last to shoot if they get to shoot. I don't know that we have any remotes that shoot yet, but with the squid ship coming out, there will be some movement damage capabilities from I0 remotes for epic play. I don't think they translate to regular play yet, but hopefully we'll see something like that later on. And that pretty much covers it for me, guys. Anything else? Johnny, thanks for tuning in. I don't know if anybody has any questions, but feel free to drop them in the chat on Twitch, and we'll get to them as soon as we can. But for me, guys, that's it.
Awesome. Why don't we switch over to our roll call? Welcome back. Now it's Matt's turn to do roll call. So we're going to try and bring up some of the, whatchamacallit, on the screen.
Yeah, start with Holdo if you don't mind.
Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and bring Holdo up. So we go to resistance. And
yeah, as we kind of talked about there, yeah. So there's a million cards, and here's one that'll break your brain, right? So during the engagement phase, everybody has their tokens and everything like that. Well, before you engage, but that's the player, right? So, okay, so we're going to bring up Amwin Holdo. She's a crew card, and I'm going to read it real quick for you. Krista, were we able to get it up?
yeah, just give me a second.
Yep, no worries.
Yasby's been a little slower.
No worries.
For some reason.
Yeah, everybody takes their actions, and so everybody has Charles was talking about. You have the round tokens and the square tokens, right? So it's so basically one type of a token. So when you talk about like a focus or a green token, that's one type of token, or a focus token is one type of token. You have a stress token, that's a different type of token. You get what I'm saying. So it looks like we're good to go. So Amwin Holdo says, before you engage, you may choose another friendly ship at range 1 to 2. And this is a crew card. So it has to be a crew carrier, and it's a resistance upgrade. You may transfer that ship one token of a type that the ship does not have, and then you may take you may transfer one token of the ship. One token to you of a type you do not have. So what this allows you to do is basically swap back and forth tokens. Let's say you happen to be running with, let's say, ZZ, for instance. She has a focus or an evade, and let's say you run this on, I don't know, Ray, for instance, and Ray takes a target lock, right? So she doesn't have any tokens except for the target lock. So what she's allowed to do is she's actually allowed to take that focus from ZZ and bring it over to her ship, as long as it's at range 1 to 2 of the crew carrier. And then if she happens to want to, she can actually transfer over that target lock. Or she could transfer over a stress token or anything she wants. She doesn't have to. It's a may. Both ends are a may. But if you do take a token, you are allowed to give a token. Now, I believe if you don't take a token, you are not allowed to give a token, just so you know. It must either be both ways or one way only. So that's Amwin Holdo, and that happens during the engagement phase and actually when that pilot engages. So you're allowed to wait a little bit until that actual pilot does engage, and that'll allow you to actually decide when you can, or if you want to, take those tokens and move those tokens around. It's kind of a really cool tool. Was used to great success in one of the lists that was in, I think last year there was Galaxies, where they actually had one of the what was it? The Colossal Station Engineers, which was the Fireballs, had taken a cloaking device and was able to like cloak, and it was taking the cloak token, giving off a cloak token, which is awesome because it allows that particular card to basically be broken. So very cool, really neat.
If I recall, they were passing that cloak token on to Ray and the Falcon, which was the worst thing ever.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
I like that list. Just me.
Really neat.
I thought it was fun.
Super creative. Super creative. Surprised that they don't have one or a crew member like that for Scum yet. I hope to see one because I think that would be phenomenal. It would cost 1 million points, but it would be phenomenal.
There actually is one, just to bring it up, and it's only, I think, like a 2 or 3 point upgrade. It's a crew upgrade, Cikatro Vizago, or however you pronounce it. He allows you to swap 2 illicit upgrades between ships.
Gotcha. Not exactly the same, but yes. I would love to see one like Holdo, but yes, you're right. So what he's basically saying is like if you can equip one illicit, then you can switch it over. So basically, if you happen to use all the charges on one, you could switch to have another one on that ship. Does it happen during, or is it only at setup?
Well, let's find out.
Look at him later.
Just a second here. Well, let me bring him up.
All right, I can do it. All right, I'll let you do that while I talk about Morna Key. All right, so the other one I wanted to talk about today was Morna Key. So Morna Key is a decimator pilot. So decimator is a the proper term is VT-49 decimator. It is a Imperial ship, large base, and its special pilot ability is during the end phase, you may spend 1 charge of her 3 charges to allow you to flip your reinforce token to the other full arc instead of removing it. Okay, so what this tells you now, when you pick the action reinforce, for instance, you may choose fore or aft, right? So fore, of course, is anything. If you look at your cardboard, you'll see that there's 2 lines printed on the starboard and port side of it, or left and right, whichever way you want to go. That right there indicates the front half of the ship, and then anything behind it, that back half of the ship, obviously. So if you reinforce anything in the front, that is from those lines forward of the ship, or from those lines aft if you reinforce aft. So what she says is you can reinforce 1 turn, and then during the end phase, instead of removing the green token, you may flip it instead, and then keep that token until next round. So what that'll allow her to do is basically have a reinforce for both fore and aft on a ship if she so chose, or she can keep that reinforce up to 3 turns, that same reinforced token, allowing her to do different actions in between, which can be quite useful. Really useful there.
And just a little side note, when I first started playing, Matt and I bought the Empire set, right? And I actually got Morna Key with the Decimator, because Matt's like, oh, you can have the Decimator. I don't know if I'll run that or not. So I played the Decimator first, and I actually ran the first time I ever played was Morna Key. That was the first time I ever played X-Wing with the Decimator was with Morna Key. I then switched to who was the other pilot?
Admiral Sharanu.
No, what's the one where you can shoot at range 0? Oh, hold on.
I'll tell you. It is Captain Oiken.
Yes, Captain Oiken. That was the second one that I actually played because I did not like Morna Key and how she worked. Mm-hmm. So I switched.
Yeah. And you can do Dauntless too, which is nice because after you partially execute a maneuver. So that's an upgrade on that. So it allows you to do it. Okay, sorry. Okay, what was the card that we were anyway,
so
Dauntless allows you to do action.
The card that we were looking at is Cikatro Vizago. Throwing that up on stream now for everybody. But during the end phase, you may choose 2 illicit upgrades equipped to friendly ships at range 0-1. If you do, you may exchange these upgrades, and then at the end of the game, you return the upgrades to their respective cards. The reason that this is beneficial is because if you are able to a ship is able to take a cloak token with the cloaking device, or it's not the Stygian particle array, but the actual cloaking device illicit upgrade that Scum gets access to, and then you use this ability to throw that card to another ship, then that particular ship no longer has something that requires it to remove the cloaking token at the end of the round. So you can cloak a ship that can't carry a cloak, and then remove the game text, I guess, that force you to remove that cloak token, so then you can choose when to break that cloak at your own ability. I saw this used in a list for the tugboats, where you cloak one tugboat and then you use Cikatro to toss it to another tug, and then cloak that. So now you've got 2 5 health ships that don't need to shoot because their action allows them to put the tractor beam on somebody. So they don't necessarily need to shoot, and now they're rolling 4 evade dice because they're tractored. It's pretty beefy and really, really nasty.
Super fascinating. Very, very fascinating.
Johnny asks if the... you got it. So nope, you're good. Yep. You got it.
Does the Decimator get any love in the current meta? Haven't seen anyone play it on TTS or anything. Yeah, good question. It is a large base, lots of hit points. Used to often see it with Rack, which is Rear Admiral Sheranu, which I'll go ahead and read his card for you. Rear Admiral Sheranu says is while you perform an attack, if you're reinforced either like the front or the back, obviously we just talked about that, you may change one of your focus to a hit, to a crit rather, and that's like a free, what they call a passive mod is what they call that. Basically allows you to both reinforce and get a modification on your dice. It was common to see that with Sloan, oftentimes played. You did see that in the Sloan Swarms, which you have seen some of those, and there was one, at least I know Charles played one in Bespin, but a lot of times they've been switching out the Decimator for a what is it called, Reaper, right? TIE Reaper.
Yep, for the TIE Reaper, because it's less points intensive. I will say that for anybody who plays against a Decimator, we definitely show it love. It's dark in space, so we shoot as many lasers as we can into its general direction to make sure that it's able to see what's going on. Every once in a while, we nick it really, really hard, and we watch it explode, and no one is sad about that. But other than that, I mean, it's seen, but it's not part of the. I would say that it's not part of the meta of current. Right now is pretty heavy for swarms. And the Decimator does not like swarms because the Decimator does not get evade dice. So while, yes, it has 16 health, if 6 ships take a shot and it can't dodge anything, there's a potential that that's 12 damage into your ship in the opening round of combat. And even with the reinforced token that it can get, that's still potentially 6 damage in the opening round of combat. So it's not big for meta right now, but that doesn't mean it's not played. Normally they use it as a points fortress with a couple of aces or something like that, just to be out there and be beefy.
Also, I've seen recently too, just something to put on the radar, guys, is that I've seen large base ships come down a little bit in cost to try to fight that swarm meta. So you might see them come down a little bit in points, might make them again more effective. So, all right.
Cool. So maybe it's time to do a Rebel Hanger Cadet.
What new set?
And so folks, what we're doing now is we're going to be having a conversation about the Cadet Academy, right? Because these are going to be essentially lists that I would either play for a tournament that don't need to be specifically competitive. And the idea behind it, right, is the fact that I want to say, okay, here we go. If I go to a tournament, I either want to have fun or win, one of the two. So I'm going to build a list tonight in hyperspace that is specifically a combination of the two without, me having a specific exact on-target meta list. And this allows me to be creative, but also get to play something that I have fun with. We chose Separatists because I like to play Separatists and I like Swarms. So we're going to choose Separatists and a Swarm style. So Charles, if you want to go over real quick the difference between Hyperspace and Extended, that would be amazing.
Absolutely. Extended is really easy. It's my preferred method because I like being able to fly stuff that you don't see a whole lot of. But Extended is a format that requires you to fly every single ship, every single upgrade that has existed since 2.0 was released. There really is no restrictions other than the upgrade slots that are available on the ships that you're flying. Hyperspace is a more restricted format in which AMG releases a list. Up until now, it was FFG, would release a updated list normally in the June-July timeframe or November to December timeframe, in which they would increase and decrease points based on what they're seeing played at various tournaments. For instance, or they would add or remove upgrade slots, and then they add and remove pilots from the availability to be played. In the last Hyperspace change, one of the major changes was they removed a crew slot from Boba Fett. That is that. And then they actually removed Boba Fett and generic Fang fighters and I-1 generic M3As from playability in Hyperspace itself. So significant changes, but Chris, they do it so that the meta doesn't stagnate. They do it so that we can constantly play new things, constantly find new combinations that make the game interesting, based on the points that are available to us. So the list that we're looking at tonight for the Academy would be, a Hyperspace list just to see what we can build within the restrictions.
Yep. And so to begin with, we want kind of a staple. So the staple is a Trade Federation drone. That is pretty much a big staple within Separatists. It is the cheapest ship, and it's going to have the easiest thing. We're going to add the grappling struts, like I said, and we're going to put thread tracers on, because what we're getting is no Discord missiles, which I'm sure Matt is very happy about, because Matt does not like Discord missiles as well. Then when we come to our bombers, we normally would run like a Techno Union bomber, which you can run a couple of different things with, but they got rid of them, and we only have Bactoid prototypes and bombardment drones, and as well as the uniques here. So we're gonna pick DBS 404. And DBS 404 essentially says that you can perform a primary attack at range 0. While you perform an attack at range 0 to 1, you must roll 1 additional dice after the attack will hit. So if it doesn't hit, it doesn't trigger. It gives 1 crit damage. So you have to take a crit no matter what. But on a positive side, you're able to shoot. So this guy is essentially 7 points more, and he's going to roll up in here, and he's going to go, hey, I'm going to murder some people, because that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to murder people, and I'm going to make sure that I die, and you can have the points, but I'm going to take at least 1 to 2 people with me. So ideally, we could put protons, but those are pretty expensive. I now then have a 42-point ship. You're muted, Matt. And so we can't, I can't essentially use that. So I'm going to put advanced proton torpedoes. Then I'm going to, I'm probably going to go ahead and add thermals. And then I'm not going to add much else to him, because now we're already at 38 points. So when he dies, he is going to 100% be dead. So
about struts on that or no?
We're going to go ahead and add them, but we're probably not going to use them. And I'll say the reason we aren't going to use them is because he's going to come in the formation, and he's going to be behind. So we're going to come in kind of like a pyramid or a block formation, and he's going to be in the back, so that way he's at range 3 or outside of range. When these guys are in range 1, they get to use their thread tracers. He then is going to come in that next turn. The other droids are going to go to the side, he's going to come in and take the range 1 shot with his advanced protons. If he don't die, which hopefully won't die, that 1 round, he's then going to drop his bombs and run into you full throttle. Now, the other thing you could do is take cluster mines because nobody takes them, or you could take counter nets. And counter nets are a little bit bigger of a unit. And when a counter net drops, essentially, I believe it's 2 ions, if I'm not mistaken, and then you roll to see if you take damage. Not 100% sure on that, but I believe there's 2 ions. So we might take counter nets because thermals, if I go in and use him as a blocker, may be unbeneficial. So we're going to actually do that. I'm going to put counter nets on because that sounds cool. That sounds like a fun thing to do that we don't ever get to do. And it says at the bottom, after the ship overlaps or moves through this device, it detonates. When this device detonates, you suffer 1 damage and 3 ion tokens. So if you got even a big base ship in there, it ain't moving the churn after that. So then you're going to get to shoot at range 0 with your primary. You've already exhausted your advanced protons, and you're going to, and when they move, the probability of them going through that is a lot higher. Can't guarantee it, but it is high. So now we're at 85 points. We have 115 points left. We can then choose to either add, more droids in here or more bombers. So we're going to start, and I essentially have 2 flavors of this list that I like to run. We're going to go back to our Trade Federation drones. We're going to add our grappling structs. Maybe. There we go. And then we're going to add energy shells. And the neat thing about these energy shells, and a lot of people, we miss this a lot. So if you take off an energy shell drone, you're kind of out of luck. But if you spend your energy, you can perform an attack. You may spend 1 calculate token to change 1 eyeball to a crit. So it's not just a hit you're changing it to, it's a crit. Now, I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of specifically that type of a thing because that forces you to A, have your calculate, and B, to roll an eyeball. But energy shells can be very powerful. So we can actually put 1, 2.
Real quick, Chris, while you're
Go ahead.
building this in. What are your thoughts on changing out counter nets and the 2 Federation drones with the thread tracers? Maybe both of them. I'm not trying to say you can do what you want there, but throwing a DRK-1 on DBS 404, allowing you to have the locks pre-engagement. Is that something that you would suggest, or if you wouldn't suggest it, why not?
So the answer to so I don't personally run DRK probe drives as often. The answer to your question is absolutely. It would be very beneficial to have those. The difference is if somebody knows what they are, they shoot at them right away. Because what you're going to do is, and I should have brought my TTS up, but what'll happen is when you launch it, it's going to go and that remote moves. Now that remote gets 3 green dice for the churn, which that's pretty good. Yeah, bring it up over here. So they're going to get 3 green dice and they have 1 hull. But if you focus fire that thing down, it does not matter. So yes, the DK probe run droids allows everybody to get locks in advance. And to be honest with you, it probably is more beneficial than a counter net. I don't know if I'm 100% sold on dumping the thread tracers yet, though. I'll be honest. Because I think now it depends on, do we add another bomber in here? Or do we add another vulture in here? Because if I do that, let's say, and I add my energy shells back here.
So we have, what do you have here? If you do that, you have energy shells, but you also have, I got 7 ships. If you have all energy shells, you can have 6 of them on the Trade Federation drones and the DRK-1s on DBS 404. If you do that, you only have 3 points left.
Yep. And at that point, you don't need anything else. I mean, you're not going to put anything else on DB at all. It might be beneficial not to use the energy shells, but that's kind of like the classic, that's actually the classic separatist build is the energy shells. Because the idea behind it is you could still, you could take your action to reload the card if you want. It kind of depends on your position. Whether you do like a block and you hold somebody in there, that depends on whether you reload the card or if you know how you do it. So you could do it this way, and you could switch them out, and you still have 3 points, and that is beneficial. But you do lose a little bit of health because you're only running one bomb. If you were to, let's say we drop one of them.
If you drop one and then change one of the energy shells to a thread tracer, that gives you 32 points. Would you be able to possibly do some sort of relay carrier?
A relay carrier, probably not. Because the cheapest relay carrier you're going to get is either... I don't know. Hold on. I have to see how much your cheapest guy comes in here. So Watt comes in, because the problem is it's hyperspace, and you lose your cheaper relay carriers. So Watt is 42, and if that at that point I might as well just go with Grievous.
HMP, you got HMP gunships.
Yep. So then the next one is the HMP that you could put in there. Sorry, it's just taking a few seconds to.
No worries. Yeah, it seems like it's not possible. I was just curious if we could change it up like that. That would be neat.
Yep. So you could put an HMP in there. The Genosian prototype, bear. I mean, it would be 100% bear, but then you're saying, hey, I want to put Kraken in. Because because you only get 3 options. There's the only 3 options, and I can tell you one out of those 3 is worthless. Kalani is worthless because you have to have Bullseye unless you have Nantex. Then it's really good. And your K2B4, you can spend a calculate. When a friendly ship at range 0 to 3 defends, it may spend 1 calculate token. If it does, add 1 evade result unless the attacker chooses to gain 1 strain token. So, yes, that can be beneficial, but I think it's a little overcosted at 5 points because the problem becomes is unless you would have to focus fire everything down. So the K2B4, this puts us 6 points over without the thing. So we're gonna have to drop grappling. So I could drop my landing struts because I'm not gonna land ever, and now I have to drop at least 1 energy shell. So you could run it this way and hit a 200 flat with one of these, but then I don't have my configuration. That's the only issue. Now you could run, and you could say I'm not going to run. I'm gonna run only gas cloud. You could say that. If you did that, come on, because you cannot land on a gas cloud. But you can land on debris though. You actually can land on debris. So you could drop your grappling struts.
Could do that too.
And then the problem becomes is you're probably going to want to put your repulsor stabilizers on there.
Well, a second. So if we go down to your counter nets and then do 2 of them that have the thread tracers, and we remove all the grappling and landing struts, then we remove 1 of these. That also works too, where you have the Genosian prototype. Well, you can do a tactical relay. You can do like K2B4, and you can do your configuration.
Yep.
So there you go. But then you do remove a lot of the teeth. I was just kind of curious more than anything.
Yep. So the problem is if you're going to do that, you're best off actually going down to a 6-ship list. Because if I go to my 6-ship list here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I now can have this. I get 22 points back. Now I can put my Kraken on. I can go ahead and add my missile upgrades. Come on, maybe someday. I can go back and add my energy. Oh my gosh, this program is so slow tonight. There we go. I can go ahead and add my energy shells. I still have 11 points left. I can add all my grappling struts back on. I can add whatever I want on at this point. I can also go and upgrade him. Now let's see, because I cannot remember. I have to double check. Yep. So my Onderon Oppressor, I could double down, and then I could put either the DK1 probe droids on him, or I could add bombs to him if I want. What I probably would do is not that, though, honestly. I would probably stay with my Geonosian prototype. Maybe. Come on, buddy. Come back.
If it wants to.
And yep, and then I would add a cannon in here.
Yeah, sync cannons are awesome on those.
And succinct laser cannons, I will tell you, on Geonosian prototypes are the best thing in the world. They just are. Now, if I want, I can go ahead and add my configurations back, and I can actually add grappling struts to all of my Federation drones.
I'm going to real quick while he's doing that. I'm going to run down a list that he basically talked about. His initial list was pretty tough list. So that was basically really quick. Just give me half a second here, guys. All right. So what the initial list is kind of was sorry.
Ding!
Right.
That's one for the chat.
One for the chat. Okay, so you actually had a 3-point bid, and what it was six Trade Federation drones, Vulture class drones with energy shells and grappling struts, and then one DBS 404 Hyena class droid bomber with landing struts, DRK-1 probe droids, and advanced proton torpedoes. For a total of 197 points. That was his initial list, which was pretty tough. That definitely has a lot of teeth. There's a lot of attack there. And Chris will do this is a different option, basically using the relay, which a Kraken relay is a pretty cool relay. So
yeah, and so the Kraken is the idea behind the Kraken is the fact that you get to keep up the 3 calculate tokens you don't use. So you're gonna come in slow with them, is what you're gonna do. And as you come in slow, you're gonna be able to use Kraken to hold those calculate tokens on whoever you want them to. Definitely DBS 404. He will always have that, because then he can perform that same action and get another calculate token and have 2 of them, like the next turn. So, yeah. So here's my original. It's taking forever. Come on, there we go. And essentially, the idea behind the 2 lists is, one is list sustainability, is points fortressing, right? Those HMPs are going to be a points fortress, pretty hardcore. I know they don't get very many green dice, but I'm telling you right now, I'm here to tell you that they are highly maneuverable, and because not enough people run them, they are very hard to predict specifically where they're going to be.
they also have like a B-Wing kind of stat pool, guys, too, which anybody who's ever played against, Y-Wing stat pool, rather. Honestly, B-Wing as well. They're almost similar, but it's that bomber stat line, which is it's a small base, which also has quite a few shields and quite a few hull. So it takes a while to chew through it, especially if you get rolls on the one, like you actually roll evades, or like it can focus and like it actually can use its calculates to take those no damage. That really surprisingly does take quite a while to eat and chew through it.
Yep. And you can even put if you want on this list, you have a couple of different options. You know, you could put another hull upgrade and drop a few of the grappling struts. You could switch to a thread tracer if you wanted to. Again, the DK1 probe droids, if you are going slow enough, you get 2 charges, so you can shoot them in 2 different directions and let them go on the sides of the board and go around the people. But you have to go slow. Like, it's a mandatory slow roll. So there's a couple other things that you could put in here. You could also put thread tracers on the Hyena bomber too. You got the point. Your 4 does not matter whether he goes first or second most of the time in this case, because he's going to be in the back until he's the blocker, and then he's going to die. Like, that's what he's there for. So I'll probably just leave it like this, and kind of call it a day.
Very cool.
We'll call it Rebel
And as we kind of talked about it, I'm really quickly going to talk about what the DRK-1 probe droid does, and I'm not an expert on it, so Chris will probably correct me. But basically, during system phase, you launch it with a 3 template. So it's a 3 straight, 3 bank template. In that system phase, so it's before everybody moves. And then in the system phase, it's allowed to move. So does that happen immediately, Chris?
Now you launch it in end phase, and then the next phase it moves.
Okay.
So it's essentially you roll up, you do your engagement, blah blah blah. Then you launch your probe droids at the end, and then what'll happen is we come into the new phase. You set your dials. You're like, hey, do we have any bombs to drop? Anything like that? Then you go, okay, boom. Who goes first? DK1 probe droids. They always move before all your other stuff. So that's the best part about it is you can move them around and you can move them to the outside. So if you go 1 forwards or 2 forwards and then shoot, they move before you move. They move again. You shoot the second one, and now you've got them on each side of the board, kind of no matter where their people are. Or if they're all on one side, you could shoot one to the left and one to the right. Chances are they probably can't take both of them out before you at least get target locks. The idea is it gives you 2 devices that will give you target locks before you engage. Once you engage, to some extent, they're worthless. I mean, they're there, but they essentially become worthless. Then your goal is just to force people to shoot them instead of you, because you might have some other ships behind that could still take advantage of them. Chances are that won't happen. That's never happened to me. People only shoot at them when I'm not in the range. Otherwise, they just shoot at me instead. Discord missiles, on the other hand, people shoot at those no matter what.
All the time. Yeah, so basically what it is it's this disc, and I want to say it's probably about size of a proximity, I don't know. It's a good size remote, basically. And you're allowed to take locks within range 3 of that, regardless of where your ship is on the board, which is quite handy. Very, very good.
Yeah. So, yep, so that's, I don't know why I'm importing it. So that's list number 2. That's the original list. You know, again, it's a style of play. I will tell you, energy shells are definitely a different feel than Discord missiles are, but they give you at least 1 engagement of being aggressive. And then you can kind of come from there. The second one is more of a points fortressy list. You are only actually missing one ship out of that whole thing. And that's why a lot of people don't like the Separatists, is because that one ship gave me a HMP. Gave me an look, hey, it must be having a nightmare tonight. I've never had this much on the issues on ASP. Look at that. I can't believe that. Anyway, so the difference is that it gives you 1 better ship to put in there and toys for more of them. That's the saddest thing about that whole thing, and that's why a lot of people go, screw the Separatists. This is ridiculous. Why in God's green earth are you getting to shoot all these other things? You know, and if we had been able to put 3 Discord missiles in there, I just saved 3 points because those are only worth 4 compared to energy shells.
Yep, cheater.
Anyway,
you know, Separatists are cheaters. Just joking.
Don't disagree.
No, they just
all right.
Things. Nicely done. I think those are 2 really solid lists for anybody who's watching who's interested in playing Separatists. Those are 2 very solid lists. If you see them on the other side of the board from you, you're going to have a tough fight.
Fair enough. All right. So before we move on to our constructing the Death Star, constructing the Death Star, Matt wanted to do a quick segment called Malfunctions.
Well, yeah, system malfunctions. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to highlight in this section, it's new, where we're going to highlight some interactions. Obviously, there's a million different points, a million different cards out there, which we discussed earlier. There's going to be so many things that are out there. And something we just saw, and I thought was a really cool thing, we saw it on the board actually when we played in person a couple weeks ago. And then also it was on the stream the other day. So if you watch GSP stream in Bestman, this is one of the things that made the top table. So We'll start with the chassis. The chassis is the Eta-2 Actus, which is basically that Jedi, the newest Jedi starfighter kind of thing, and it basically gives you Force. All the people who are using it are Force users, so you basically have a passive Force mod, which is very, very useful. Anybody who's ever flown Force will tell you Force is excellent. Not broken at all. But then again, these ships are very highly maneuverable. They give you really good linked actions. And then, well, not linked actions on these, but basically with the Force, it's pretty much a linked action. Anyhow, I digress. So you add on to those auto blasters. So auto blasters, I'm going to read real quick, are a front forward arc attack, basically. So that front pie wedge, if you will. If the defender is in your bullseye arc, however, which is that, again, that straight line that goes directly out from the front of the ship, you roll 1 additional dice. And also, if you're in range 1, you get to roll an additional dice as well. So you can be up to 4 dice on this. And it has a very special activation on this one. Is if you are not in the defender's forward arc, this is not their firing arc, this is their forward arc. If you're not in that, then evade results, the squiggles that Charles talked about, if they can't be used on crit results. So obviously crits are less likely, but they do happen. And if you are outside of the front firing arc, that front pie wedge, those don't activate. So you take that ship, like Ayla Secura, for instance, and then you add on another card called Marksmanship.
Hold on 1 second.
Sure.
Because Charles has a specific ship he plays that uses auto blasters all the time.
The M3.
What's that ship, Charles?
Are you talking about the M3A, or are you talking about my fire spray with the auto blasters?
The fire spray. So you put them on fire, and so we're going to talk about weird interactions, right? And which fire spray do you normally put it on? Zam, right?
No, 9 times out of 10 it's on Zam, and I have Dooku as the crew.
Okay, so I'm bringing that up. So I'm sorry, Matt. I want Charles, because this is extremely important as well. I want Charles to explain, why does he put auto blasters on Zam? What is the logic in doing that?
Okay. So, as it's been shown, Zam Wessel, when you use him correct, gets a double tap attack generally in a turn, where he can spend an additional 2 charges to do an additional attack. When you have auto blasters, it is a 2 dice primary. Most people say, well, why would you put that on a fire spray that has a 3 dice primary? If you can get them at range 1 and in bullseye, then it becomes a 4 dice primary, because you get an additional dice for range 1 and an additional die for them being in bullseye. If you are able to pilot enough to be behind them, they then cannot cancel crits, because you are outside of their arc. So on the side or behind them, as long as you're not in their front pie wedge, they cannot cancel any crits. When you roll your dice, you spend your force with Count Dooku, and you say crit. What that does, Count Dooku's ability, is after you spend his charge, you call a result. When you roll your dice, if that result does not appear naturally among the dice, you can then change it to that. So if you roll blank, blank, blank hit, you can change one of the blanks to a crit. And whatever ship you're faced at, it doesn't matter if it's Fen Rao, it doesn't matter if it's Suntir Fel, it doesn't matter who it is. They eat that crit no matter what. Unless they have a shield, then they just take a shield. But for an ace with no shields, being able to force crits through, for anybody who watched Bespin last night, that's how the champion lost Fen Rao, was 2 shots with Shock T that had auto blasters on them, forcing through 2 crits per round.
So, Matt, I brought up on the screen, I have Yoda, Anakin, and Ayla. And Yoda's probably not very prevalent, but I just like Yoda a lot, because when you mention the Force, Yoda's got 3 Force and can let others regen. But your big thing is auto blasters. What are we going to do with it? We have Anakin. We now have Ayla. What do we put? What are we talking about is the reason we want them? And what is the other cards you want to put with it?
Right. So the only one that actually can't use this is Yoda. because he does not have a talent slot. So you do want to, if you're going to try this little interaction, is to go with Ayla, Shakti, Obi, or Annie. Okay. So, but not that Yoda's not awesome. He just in this particular case doesn't have he just doesn't have a talent slot. His double force modifiers, which is awesome, but in this particular case, we want to use this. So, okay, so we have auto blasters. Basically means you can't cancel crits, as Charles just kind of explained there. So marksmanship now we add on, and it says while you perform an attack, if the defender is in your bullseye arc, which again you get the extra dice for, you can change one of your hit results to a crit result. So if you happen to even roll a focus, you can use the force to get it to be a hit, and then the hit turns to a crit. So yay for that. And then the last piece of the pie is the R7A7 droid, which is Galactic Republic only. So that does make this so you cannot put it in the Scumfire spray, unfortunately, or else I know that Charles would try to do it. So R7A7 is a 3-charge droid. What it allows you to do is allows you to spend one of those charges to again change a hit to a crit result. Thus, basically, if you end up rolling 3 hits, you can change 2 of those hits to crits, or 4 hits, or whatever it may happen to be. Any 2 of them automatically get changed to crits. Any other crits that you roll are all automatically crits as well. So this is especially strong. Ayla Secura is the only one that has only 2 force. If you pop up to Obi-Wan, for instance, you have 3 force. That's a huge modification pool. Also, he has the ability to grab a focus with his action, I believe. Yeah. Which really allows you to use one of those force, and now you get a focus token. Insane. So it's a really cool thing that I've seen. There was a question in the chat. Looks like Charles actually answered it, but I did real quick want to respond to Johnny. Any good Rebel hyperspace lists right now? I've heard they're dead in hyperspace. What Charles kind of put out there is true. Like 5 T65s is a really good list. You'll also see some other basically spammed kind of ships in this particular case, or you can use some of the named pilots. Look out there. Hera, I believe, is allowed in hyperspace. Is that correct, guys?
Hera just released the last hyperspace list that came out. Hera wasn't part of it yet because she just released with the squadron packs. Yeah. So I'm not sure, but I would assume they would have updated with the release of the squadron packs to put them into hyperspace.
Yes, she is.
She is. So
but I also don't think we've had a. I also don't think we've had a hyperspace tournament, like a premier level hyperspace tournament, that has caused her to appear. She's big. She's helping Rebels greatly in the extended format because that's where we're at right now. But I want to say that the next GSP online tournament is going to be the first major premier level tournament that we have had that has been hyperspace since the release of the squadron packs.
Right. Yeah, so there's stuff there. Also, just looking at it real quick, I see you can get Hera, Ahsoka, Garvin Drees, and Ten Nub all in one group. Probably something there. You'll want to throw
that guy
a smattering of stuff on there, but that's just off the top of my head, and I think that there could be a lot done with that. So.
Yeah, as far as the meta lists themselves, looking at what's being played in the meta, so going from approximately October 30th, 2020 through today, the top hyperspace rebel list is 5 naked X-Wings. It's a swarm that is tanky. If you guys look at the swarm that Chris built earlier, the 6 or 7 ship swarm, most of them have 3 health. 1 good SWAT, and you're popping a ship. With an X-Wing, they've got 3 hull or 4 hull?
4 and 2.
4 and 2.
4 and 2.
So you've got to get through the shields, and even if you hit them for 3 damage, they've still got 3 health left, and they're rolling a 3 health gun. The servo motors give them incredible maneuverability. 5 X-Wings is a force to be reckoned with. The next is going to be the T-65, the Y-Wing, the B-Wing, and the A-Wing, the XBA list. But yeah, as far as Rebels go, in the top, say, 25 lists, that are currently what we would consider to be the top meta right now for hyperspace. There are only 3 Rebel lists. 2 of them, I'm guessing, one of them is 2 B-Wings, an X-Wing, and a Y-Wing. The other is an X-Wing, a Y-Wing, a B-Wing, and an A-Wing, and then 5 X's. So always you can check List Fortress or MetaWing to see what is updated. But the Rebels are very clearly underrepresented when it comes to the overall of hyperspace. But with the introduction of Hera now being in the hyperspace, I have a funny feeling that in a couple of weeks, when that hyperspace tourney hits, we're probably going to see an overwhelming swing, a pendulum swing there to show them being heavily represented because they got pretty big. I would probably call now and say we're going to see a lot of Hera on the Rebel side, and we're going to see a lot of Kanan Jarrus from the Scum side because he's one of the few Force users that we have on the Scum side that's not a crew.
Yeah, I want to show something in a minute too, guys. So this is hilarious. You can run. They're 38 points each, so you can run 5 of them, and you're going to get 10 points on the Rebel side. You got 10 extra points. Now here's the deal.
You can run a cat. Chris, just so you know.
What's that?
They just allowed the Blue Squadron Escort, the BSC. Yeah. They just allowed that in hyperspace. That's new. So It used to be you had to run the other one.
Yep. A Cavern Angel is a initiative 1.
Change your setting from extended at the top to hyperspace.
Oh. You can't do the Cavern Angels, but you can do the Blue Squadron Escort, which you could not do before. And that's 2 points lower. So even if you run 5 X-Wings, that's still 10 points less. It does give you a little bit, but if you run 4 of them, you can add an ace to it as well. So one of your X-Wings is going to be very nice.
Yep. And, you're with this right here, so we'll just, I don't know. Now we're building 3 lists. We're bringing a bunch of lists.
Yeah, we're probably a little bit on there.
Just with this is just 10 points. You can run 2. You can run 2 with Advanced. You can run Astromechs. There's a lot of things you can do with this. Or like Matt said, if you want to just be a little bit more pushy, right? Who are we going to add? We're going to add either Garvin. We can't add Luke. Luke, I think, kills it.
You can't do Luke anyways. I don't think.
I could put
Thane Kyrell. Hyperspace, but no points.
You can do Thane. You can do. I think Garvin would be a really good choice in that one.
I was gonna say you could swap anyone from Thane down, and have enough points because Thane is only 9 points more expensive. So you could run Thane Kyrell or Garvin Drees with 4 Blue Squadrons.
Yeah, I don't know. There's stuff there.
Or if you wanted to, for an additional 10 points, you could beef every one of them from an I2 to the Red Squadron veteran and have them all at I3 if you wanted them in the middle of the firing order. Yep. If you play against
Johnny's calling you out, Charles, just so you know. Johnny's
I'm in.
Out in chat.
I'm in.
Looks like you're gonna have to.
Wait, hold on, Johnny. Are you wanting me to fly T-65s? Because if that's the case, I have to decline.
Excellent.
I don't fly those piles of garbage. But if you want me to fly Scum against you, I'll bring it. I'll fly my Scum Swarm against your. Or no, because it's got to be hyperspace. If my Scum Swarm's not hyperspace anymore, I will devise a Scum list to play against your T-65s.
Oh, you're killing me. All right. Well, why don't we move into our last segment? Construct the Death Star, because I think really the end all be all is we need one more list because I get to run a list this week I get to run my resistance bomber list against whatever list John prescribed. So let me. Yeah. So all right. So here we go. We're gonna get. Give me just a second. I'm gonna bring John in. Welcome to our constructing the Death Star. So as we wrap this episode up, we want to essentially create a last list that we can play against me. So you have John guessing with us tonight to actually go ahead and be a part of the stream to talk about what list he thinks he's going to get to fly against me. So to recap, we picked a resistance list, a resistance bomber list, and that's as much as we're going to give John. We're not going to give John any more detail than that. We're gonna force this conversation to
Recap
happen.
him.
So, all right. So, John, you get to begin. You get to pick what faction you want, and we get to veto it. At least one veto. Correct, guys?
Yep.
Okay, so just so I have this right, I get to pick, and you may veto it, but you might not.
Correct,
Very true.
depending on what
Yep.
you pick.
Okay. Ooh, I'm going to choose First Order.
I'm not okay with that.
Yeah, but what other one would it be, though? What other one would
Scum.
be okay? Oh, actually, that might not be a bad idea. John with Scum seems kind of like...
I've never seen John intentionally fly scum before. And I think he needs some G1A love, if you want my honest opinion.
I haven't since 2nd edition, really.
Hey, competitive advantage for Chris. I vote for Scum.
I did take it to Top Cut at Gen Con once in first edition.
You will not get Torkoal Mux. I'm saving my veto for Torkoal Mux. It is not even a
That's just
question.
not
You will
happening.
never play that against me.
All right, so we're going to veto for Scum then.
So you're going to say Scum. Now I have to take Scum,
Or you can veto.
Yes, you have to.
There's 3 of us.
You can use your veto to override ours, but then whatever
I
we
don't
pick,
think
you
so,
have
though.
no choice
If we
then.
all 3 decide that he's having Scum, I think we override his veto. So you're playing Scum.
And then you can veto a ship or pilot or upgrade choice. You get 1 veto to use.
But yes, normally
Okay.
we would veto. But if we're all 3 in agreement, I'm sorry, John, but that has to be kind of where
Screw
it
me.
goes.
We can
just
just
warn you. If you pick Torkoal Mux, this game will
Torkoal
be
Mux
so
is banned.
short. It's
We
not
already
even
know
funny.
that this is going to be banned. So Torkoal Mux is a
Oh.
no.
I think the 2 of you should absolutely give me Torkoal Mux just to spite Chris.
Right? Yeah. I think. I think
I will
that-
literally
that,
dive straight into all your
There's
stuff.
not
The game
enough
will be over in
scotch.
30 minutes.
All right,
Just
so we can
remember,
go with
John,
Scum.
you have to listen to me, bitch. I will not be on stream. You will have to listen to me in chat for an hour and a half.
Yep.
Complain at you, just so you know ahead of time. I will warn you. Like, of all the scummy things I hate Torkoal Mux more than anything else.
That's pretty optimistic to say the game's going to go to time. What?
So I've got an idea for first pilot. Let me throw this pasta at the wall and see if it sticks. I'm going to give you a Star Viper with Dalen Overos. So Dalen's pilot ability is after you fully execute a maneuver, you may take a stress to rotate your ship 90 degrees.
Okay.
So you could do a 1 bank Talon roll. Or 1 bank Talon essentially because it's a 90-degree turn instead of a 180-degree turn.
Okay.
You don't want to use your veto here, John. Now you can add 1 item to that ship.
I only get 1 upgrade?
No.
You
So
have 1 upgrade at a time.
We're each going to pick. You're going to pick one for this ship, and then someone's going to give you another pilot. You're going to upgrade that. Someone will give you another pilot. And then if you are okay at 3 pilots, then we'll use your additional points.
Okay. So do I get to load the ship out, or do I pick 1 upgrade?
One upgrade.
Advanced sensors, easy.
Advanced sensors? Okay.
Yep.
All right. So that's my pilot. Let's go to Matt next. What are you going to give him, Matt?
A pretty strong weapon to give somebody like John. So you're getting hamstrung by me, buddy. I'm sorry.
It's Fen Rao, huh?
No, you're not getting Fen Rao, bro.
Ooh. Hey, remember, you admitted that the only reason that Soontir is better is because he has to have tools. He can't do it by himself.
Fen's expensive. What do we get?
All right. I'm going to add a Y-Wing. Maxine
Y-Wing?
Warrior. Y-Wing.
All right.
TL4, A4 Y-Wing. A Maxine Warrior. I never seen one on the field. I think it must be one. It's the I3.
Yeah, that is part of the new squad pack that just came out.
Yeah, brand new ship. Let's see it on the board. See what a pro can do with it.
What are you going to put on that, John?
I wouldn't put that on the table.
You can
What?
you can veto it, or you can add an item to that ship or another ship on your list so far.
I don't feel like it's bad enough to veto. Let's just give him an ion cannon turret. Call it good.
All right.
So we're at 98 left.
All right, Chris.
Why are you letting me do this? He's got to fly against me.
I know, but you have to pick something. I guess we could not.
We could
Well,
skip
I gave
Chris. We've
Charles-
only done
like I said, I
two
gave
people.
Charles Obi-Wan, so
I mean, I didn't get to choose against Chris, so maybe it's fair. I don't know. Unless Chris wants to give
him
me
an
Torkel
autopilot drone, easy peasy.
Mux.
You're not getting Torkel
Autopilot
Mux. That's not
drone.
how this works. I'm saving my one veto, specifically avoiding Torkel Mux. But if you're gonna fly, if you're gonna fly a Star Viper, why not fly two?
Give him 2 Star Vipers? Are you guys crazy?
Yeah,
Oh,
why
are
not?
you gonna give him Shizor?
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking about that because what I really like is while you defend after the neutralize step, another friendly ship at range 0 to 1 and in the attack arc may suffer a damage to cancel the matching result.
It's the bodyguard ability.
Yes. So it allows you to keep your gentleman with advanced sensors on, or you can be super fancy and put advanced sensors on him too. It'll stop me from blocking you. That's 100% fair.
All right. So if I do veto, what can I choose instead? Or do I get to choose? Or you just choose?
Depends on what you're vetoing.
You can go ahead and
You
veto
can
the
veto
pilot
the
and-
chassis.
What, Charles?
So if you, I was gonna say, if you veto the chassis, then the pilot's gone. But if you want Star Viper, you can veto the pilot and take a different pilot.
Okay. Do I still get to upgrade the ship?
Yes.
Okay. Veto, advanced sensors Guri.
Veto.
So you can't do that. You can have Guri, but you're not getting advanced sensors.
No, I'm just using.
I thought
And the
it's
first thing I'm going to put on there, I'm going to put fire control. That way you can't have advanced sensors.
Hold up.
Back up.
Hold up.
Slow the roll.
You said if I veto, I get to choose the pilot, and then I get to upgrade the ship.
Yep, he
Right,
gets
you
to
could-
choose the first upgrade for the ship.
Right, but what I'm trying, he would get to do that, but I'm using my veto on Guri. You cannot have Guri. That's my veto. Sorry. I have another pilot, but you can't have Guri.
Okay.
So you have Black Sun Enforcer, Black Sun Assassin, or you can withdraw your veto and keep Shizor.
And I still get to put it.
ship.
And I get to put advanced sensors on it.
Yeah, you can if that's the upgrade you want.
I think that's the move. Advanced sensors, cheese, or
Okay.
You guys
So-
can absolutely smash him.
I'll hold my veto then.
All right, so we've got 34 points
points.
left. Let me see what I can do with 34 points. Because if I can give him a ship, he has nothing for upgrades.
I don't know, we were already really pretty much giving him a very, very attack-heavy platform there. It's going to be
Yep.
pretty fine.
I'm going to give him another I4.
For what? Giving him this time?
Foreman Proach in the Mining Guild TIE Fighter.
Thank you.
He's 32 points. Before you engage, you may choose one enemy ship in your bullseye at range 1 to 2 and gain a disarm token. If you do, that ship gains a tractor token.
Right, that seems pretty scummy and also pretty horrible. So at least there's one ship that's going to be bad.
So you give up your shot to put a tractor on something.
I'm okay with that, actually. I'll be honest. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I don't know
Go ahead.
what.
Waste
I,
all the points on that.
I don't know what
I'm
Chris
all fine with
has.
I know.
So if it were me, John, I don't know. I'm gonna
so
give you
so I haven't used my veto then yet.
Correct.
And I'm going to say I will veto the pilot because I don't want you giving me an autopilot drone. And go to Seavor.
All right. Cool. So now, John,
You're gonna let him have Seavor
why not?
because
It's good.
you got killing me. You know what we gave. You remember what we gave Chris, correct?
Hey, so to be fair, I have tried. I don't think the advanced sensor Star Vipers are going to be as good as you think they are. They are going to be good, but I don't think that Shizor and Dalen Oberos are going to be as good as, say, Guri or Four Generics.
There was me thinking that, Jedis without any CLTs were kind of shit too. So, just saying.
Fair enough.
Looks like we're an end pass, I guess. Got 4 points, John.
I have an odd question about how this rolls out. So does the winner of Chris and John's Jank list have to face my Jank Republic list?
Oh, we do 2 new ones. This is just fun.
Okay.
It's not a competition.
Fair enough. All right. So then we've got 4 points
It's
to
my
spend
turn,
on
right?
upgrades.
And do I get to pick an upgrade here? Okay.
4 points.
Okay.
I haven't picked shit.
Okay.
I've been silent this whole time other than my anti-Torkoal Mux.
You gave him
Garbage.
Prince
Your
Sizor.
rhetoric.
Yeah, I gave him Prince Sizor. That's the one thing I've done this whole time.
I gave him a
So
ship.
what upgrade are you going to give him?
Carlos gave him a ship. This is how this works. I don't know. Do we want to change it out? We can try to change it out. We got to give him 4 points.
On whether giving him the Brie Gamut
On
or
the tie?
Ion Limiter Override. Oh, Ion Limiter Override.
It doesn't really matter at this point. What will we do is, I guess, finish it up or not, I guess. Ion
There you go,
Limiter
you go.
Override.
That works. That puts him at 199.
Okay. Ion Limit Override lets me, after you fully execute a red maneuver, you may perform a barrel roll even while stressed. If you do roll an attack die on a hit, gain a strain, on a crit, gain an ion. Okay. So I can K-turn and barrel roll to get my bullseye lined up after K-turn. That seems fine. I'm good with that. You did this to yourself, Chris.
I know.
Okay. Seems
I'm
fine.
okay with it.
Okay.
If you get an Ion token, man, you're going 1 forward. I know what you'll be. I'll bomb
But it
you.
doesn't stop him. Oh, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Look, it's for fun. I can't be a complete, schmuck. So
There was no schmucky in this round. The only person who was a schmuck was me.
Jeez.
Now that we have you,
Star Viper platforms.
You have
do
1
we
point
want
left.
to?
Who wants
Yeah,
to
you
spend
got
the
a
1
point left. Ooh,
Spend your point.
John, where do you want to put that 1 point?
Ooh. This is a critical point.
Oh my god.
Oh,
Yes, it is very critical. This is the make it or break it point, John.
Ooh.
This is going to be automated target priority on the Amaxian Warrior. So the tech upgrade. And that is, while you perform an attack, you must choose a defender at the closest valid attack range. And after you perform an attack that missed, place a calculate token on the card. Before you engage, you can remove a calculate token from the card to gain a matching token. So I can get calculates on the Y-Wing here, as long as I'm shooting at the closest possible ships.
Seems very tough. Just so everybody who is watching, this list seems quite tough to me. I mean, it may not. It's not Guri. Thank goodness it's not Guri. I'm sorry.
I agree with you on that. I would have vetoed Guri too. So
it just had to be done. I'm sorry.
You were not going to get Guri.
I mean,
especially
so now that we have,
I shouldn't expect to get anything
John's
good.
list. Now we have John's list locked in. Should we tell him what he's facing?
Here, I'll throw this.
Actually, real quick, we should do a quick rundown, guys. So, all right, guys. So the list stands as follows. There's 2 Star Vipers, Dallin Oberos with advanced sensors and Prince Sizor with advanced sensors. We have the BTL A4 Y-Wing with a Maxine Warrior with ion cannon turret and automated target priority. And then Captain Seabor in the Mining Guild TIE Fighter with ion limiter overdrive. So that's 200 points.
All right. And the list that I had, and you'll laugh when you see it, John.
Okay.
It's taking a few minutes. I have Eden Capel in the MG100 Star Fortress with trajectory simulator, page Tico, thermal detonators, and seismic charges. I have Covanella in the resistance transport. And I have Heroic with Leo Organa and R4 Astromech. I have Kazuto in the Fireball with an R5 Astromech and Rose Naked in the resistance pod.
In the pod? The pod's not bad.
Yep, pod's not
The
bad.
only positive he has to say. The
Pod's
pod's
on that list. Yeah, the pod's not bad.
I didn't quite get the whole list, but yeah, the whole. I mean, you have Leia and Kova.
Yes, that's pretty good.
You're
That's
doing
pretty
okay.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the Star Fortress, that is.
My Star Fortress is just my goal is to just shoot bombs. That's it.
Yeah, that's not a bad approach. Especially
Because
Star Vipers. That's
the advanced sensors on the Star Vipers are going to cause you problems with the bombing, as they always would. Yeah,
because they are thermals
and different
seismic.
setup. A very strong list against very jank list. We'll leave it at that.
they're both a little janky. That's all right.
The pilots you don't see. The platforms themselves are going to be what you're basically using, which John is going to have the Star Viper platform, regardless of what the pilot skills are. They have a lot of linked actions there. There's a lot of opportunity.
So I'll tell you what, it's going to be the first time John and I have played each other since we had that live in person before COVID, where I kicked the shit out of John. And this is John's revenge right here. I beat John with my Empire list, and John didn't. He goes, I don't understand how I lost. And it's like, well, I don't know either, because I've only played for 3 months. But hey, good for me. I'm glad I beat you one time. At least I could put one win under my belt. I lost severely bad the rest of the day, but I had one win against John. So I like that. It's good odds. Good odds.
Fair enough.
Game. Good tournament.
All right. Well, as we wrap the show up, thank you all for joining us on another Planning Phase Syndicate. Tonight, I learned that I guess supposedly Star Vipers with advanced sensors are the best thing in Scum. And I learned that John at least was respectful enough to not try and pick Torkel Mux, because it would have been a fight to the death, because I will not play against Torkel Mux. And you can ask Charles. The last time he played against me, he lost. So Torkel Mux sucks. I hate Torkel Mux. I just like that should just be the banner of the podcast. Tanner hates Torkel Mux. Like, just I want a shirt. There you go. If we get famous enough,
this podcast.
Somebody give me a shirt that says I effing hate Torkel Mux, and I want it to say the actual swear word. I'll wear it on a shirt. Don't care. That's how much I hate Torkel Mux.
The hawk emblem on your chest with a circle and a line through it.
Yes.
That also will work.
Yep. And on the back it says F Torkel Mux. 100%. Like,
I'm down for making this happen.
Yeah.
Next time we do have to get a Torkel Mux list against Chris.
Nope.
I think we need to give Chris Torkel Mux.
You won't. No, because it's not. I. How about this? I hate him so much. I understand what it would be like to fly against him. So
We're not wrong. All right. Well,
I tell you, he must have done the bad touch. That's
more than once. More than one time, my friend.
There's a history here.
Fair enough.
Vitriol.
Yeah.
The first time I ever faced Torkel Mux against Charles, I did win the first time. But after
that was where he found out what Torkel Mux could do.
Yeah, after I learned what he could do, and I lost every other time. Every time.
Yep.
Hands down. Never won
That's
against
good.
Sarcomulk except for one.
Feels good. Solid piece.
All right. Thank you,
all
guys.
so much for joining us on another Planning Phase Syndicate. We'll be back next week with episode 5, where we discuss a bunch of stuff that I don't remember, and it'll be amazing. Thank you all, and have an amazing night.